Veejay Jones, you're hands down the most feared athlete in obstacle course race when it comes to, let's say, 21-kilometer distance, 10 kilometers, but definitely the 3K distance. Now, you're a multiple time Spartan world champion and the youngest one at just the age of 16. And I tend to follow you on Instagram quite often. And I'm completely blown away by the way, you handle obstacles, particularly, let's say, multi-rig or even twister. And you've got a phenomenal sense of humor as well. So, really excited to have you on my podcast, learn something from you, and also want to learn about your journey in obstacle course race. Maybe even delve into a little bit of hybrid fitness and DECA as well. Now, you will be competing in your very first Tough Mudder event in a week's from now, and you'll be doing an 8-hour loop as a team event. So, really excited, to talk to you about all these things. So, thank you so very much, Vijay, firstly, for doing this session. Really appreciate it.
Of course. I'm stoked to be here.
Now, Vijay, before we get started, just wanted to check, how has your day been so far? And how was Valentine's Day yesterday?
Fantastic. We're pretty busy people, like to do a lot of things. So having a slow day is ideal. So Valentine's Day, just kind of like chilled things out, stayed in, watched a movie. That's kind of exactly what we needed. So Valentine's Day was good. Today was great. The sun is shining. I'm not buried in snow right now. I was able to play some golf earlier this afternoon. So overall, things are going really well. Really happy about it.
That's great. And how is your training going on for Tough Mudder Infinity in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
Not too bad, actually. The last few years, volume has been a little tough for me to maintain, to where my longer distance racing has really struggled. And that's why I kind of leaned into more of a short course focus, because that was pretty much all I could stand to train for. I got sick in 2022. When I traveled to another country to race, I picked up a parasite and brought it home with me, and it ruined my immune system for a very long time, to where anytime I would try to bump up volume, I would get sick really quickly and it would just crash me out. So being able to actually build up volume is something I really struggled with over the past few years. So with like this new block, and over the last 6 or 7 weeks, actually being able to maintain a lot more running volume than I have historically, it's been incredible. So it's a really, really good sign for me. I don't know that I'm not great in conversion to kilometers, but I was averaging probably like 20 to 25 miles a week last year in all of my training, which is very low. And right now I'm cruising at 40 miles a week. And I'm going to be touching in the 50. Like the goal is to get into like the upper mid 60s later on this year. And so volume's looking really good. And that's going to really translate well for some of the longer racing that we're about to do in the desert. Yeah. Plus I've done some specific training. I've done a couple 10K intervals with like a 45-minute to an hour rest in between to kind of simulate what the demands are going to be in our team race. It's a relay format. So having our teammates take off, I get time to rest, go out, run another 10K loop, come back. So I have an idea what that's going to feel like. Mm-hmm. Did a few like 3x10K type workouts, and it's been fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Plus I love my teammates. We have a great time whenever we hang out. So I think we're going to gel together really well. It's going to be kind of like really fun for the first few hours, and then it's going to get harder, and then we're going to get serious about the race as the hours continue. But I'm mostly looking forward to the party afterwards. We're all going to be staying in a tent city out there. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast.
And the glamping experience is definitely going to be absolutely phenomenal, because, I've been speaking to the event organizers, and they're definitely focusing on the experience, especially for athletes like yourself. And, I do have 3 questions which are directed by them to you and other athletes as well. Now, before we get into your training aspects and also talk about your team members, can you give our listeners from UAE and also the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, how did you get involved in obstacle course race at a relatively young age, and what did actually drive you into obstacle course race?
I've been an athlete my whole life in one aspect or another. So I started at a young age racing bicycles, raced BMX for a lot of years, found a knack for endurance, started running when I got into high school. Turned out I was pretty good at that, but I was very good at many different disciplines. good on a bike, good in the gym, good on the track. Like I could qualify for championships in all these different domains, but I couldn't win in any of them per se. So my dad tried this local obstacle course race called the Rugged Maniac. And it was really fun to watch him compete in that. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to hop in on the next one. And I had a crazy experience, did some obstacles, went through some deep mud, lost my shoe like a half mile into this race and ended up finishing second, which I was not happy about. So I needed like, let's try this again. Let's make sure we tie our shoes appropriately and just get a little redemption at the next race. Was able to win that and just kind of fell in love with it. I liked the strength aspect of it, the skills that were required to move through obstacles efficiently and get back to running. And I was already really big into trail running at the time. So it was just an opportunity to do that. So pursued it for a couple of years. This was through high school at the same time, and stumbled into Spartan race. And I knew that was where the competition was, and was able to win my first Spartan race when I was 16. And that just kind of lit a fire under me. I wanted more. I wanted to keep competed in a couple world championship events just out of high school, and learned that the higher level of competition in this sport was much different than the local races that I was doing. So really like started to focus on it, seeing that I could be good at this. Got an offer when I turned 18 from Spartan race to join the pro team. And it just kind of moved on from there. I just kind of fell into this role of obstacle course racing and pursuing it. And I just really loved, I loved the sport, and I still do. So we're still here. It's been a lot of years, and it's funny. I'm one of the youngest people in the sport, and I've been here as long as a lot of the veterans, just because I started so early. So got a lot of experience, but it's been a really cool journey. I've learned a ton because I was a child basically when I got into this. So I've kind of grown with the sport, which has been really cool. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
And what I wanted to ask is, let's say, Veejay, on the very first obstacle course race that you did, if someone would have told you that some of the greatest of all times do actually fear you and your accomplishments, what would you have thought back then?
I would have been like, sounds about right. Yeah, absolutely. I was always very confident in my athletics and knowing what I was capable of. When I started running in high school, immediately, like as soon as I came out, I set the record at my high school, like the freshman cross country record. And I was coming after like all the records of my high school. I got attention to colleges in the area, bigger like competitive running colleges from my early years. Like as a sophomore, I was receiving letters. So I knew I was going to be good, and life happened, things got in the way, and training kind of took a back seat. In my later years of high school, really struggled as far as my athletics. So I knew I was capable of something, and I knew I could have been good in the running world, and OCR just kind of fell into my lap and became the right thing at the right time. So I was confident, like once I started pursuing OCR, I wanted to be the best in the world. And I was confident that I could get there, and I was going to do whatever was necessary to accomplish that.
And looking at the way how you smash the obstacles, you just make it look so easy. So, I 100% agree to what you have to say. Now, Veejay Jones, I follow you on Instagram, and roughly around 3 years ago, I'm pretty much sure it was before the pandemic, someone did actually mention, Veejay, I win every race I compete in, Jones. And that's how they call you. And I clicked on like, and I was like 100% yes. And I'm pretty much sure, you definitely most often tend to win the race that you complete in. Now, keeping that thing in mind, Veejay, can you tell our listeners how many podium finishes that you have?
I have no idea.
Do you think it might be in the 3-digit mark, maybe?
It could be at this point. My earlier years, I was a much more busy racer. I used to race a lot of local races, compete. Like when I lived in Southern California, we had 2 or 3 different race weekends that would stop by, like from Spartan race. And then there were the championship races that I would travel for. I'd probably travel for locals, like something in Arizona, like kind of in my region. And Yeah, I would race a lot. Like I think I one year had 14 or 15 race wins alone,
Oh, okay.
not including podiums. So yeah, there's it could be in the triple digits. I could probably text a buddy right now and ask him, and he'd probably tell us how
Is
many
it Jack
podiums
who
I
might
have.
be having the stats?
Jack
He's the
Bauer,
number
yes
guy, isn't
sir.
it?
Dude, he has all the stats of
Everyone's
everything
statistics, yeah.
ever. He's awesome.
And not just for United States athletes. I think he has the stats for pretty much every athlete who's competing in OCR, right? Even international
Absolutely.
athletes, he has the numbers for them as well.
He has backdoor access, I think, to all of Spartan Race's results, and he feeds it directly into his chart. So any racer that has anybody that's raced from like 2011 till now, he
And that
has
includes hybrid
ranked.
fitness as well, I think.
He's starting to get into hybrid fitness. I don't know if he has access to the results from a lot of Hyrox races, but I'm sure soon he will, and he'll be able to start providing like more in-depth rankings as far as athletes go for like the Hyrox side of things. Decafit, I'm sure he has access to everything.
And what I want to ask you, Veejay, is that is there any particular podium finish or a particular event or race that stands out for you personally and is a memorable one?
There are a few for sure. Like obviously winning the Spartan Race World Championships this past year was incredible. Lots of ups and downs before that, mostly downs, and being able to fight through that and come out and race. Like I know I wasn't the fittest athlete there. There were athletes capable of beating me, but I just put together a good race. Like that meant a lot to me. But I'd say there was a race in 2019 that really gave me confidence in myself and showed me that I had the capability to be better than anyone that had ever done this. Like I just felt that I could be a league above because I fought for so long just to get on the level of everybody and be able to race with them. So getting a glimpse to see that I could transcend that and get even better was a really cool thought. And I kind of struggled to live up to that over the past few years, but I still believe that it's a potential and it's possible to reach the level beyond what I'm at now. And that was a race in 2019 in Seattle where I felt really confident. I just won the previous race in the Spartan US National Series. And I came into that already having won the race in my mind. Like I was confident. If you would have asked me like who wins, it was me 100%.
Yeah.
I had it on lock. So going into that and about 2 miles in, falling off the Z wall and having to do 30 burpees, basically the race slipped away from me and I was really upset. And I got my burpees done, started running, was pretty worked from it, and was just trying to hang on and try to stay positive. And Ryan Kent ran up next to me. He fell off the Z wall at the same time. And he said, we have this whole race ahead of us. And I just felt like a shift in my mindset. And I was like, you're right. We're just getting started here. Like this isn't gone. And it kind of turned something on in me. And I started running. And I ran myself back into second place. And Atkins had opened up a huge lead. Like we're on the Z wall at the same time. I did 30 burpees and he had a 30 burpee lead. And I was able to run him back down in 2019 and pass him
and
to
is
try
that
to take the
during
win.
the bucket carry? Am I right in saying that you were talking about the bucket carry? Is that the
one?
one?
It was at the sandbag. Yeah.
Sandbag. Yeah. I remember that one.
So I was able to catch him and really challenge for the lead. In the end, I didn't end up winning it, which hurt a little bit because I felt like I should have, but it was just a tactical error at the end that lost it for me. But from a fitness standpoint, I had just lost like a minute or more, minute and a half easily. And I ran myself back into that race. So that was a big turning point for me as far as like racing mentality and belief in myself and knowing that there was a lot that I could accomplish in this sport. So that really stands out to me. And that still goes down as one of my greatest performances, if not the greatest performance that I've ever had.
That's absolutely phenomenal to know. And am I right in saying that, you're calling for the last dance? Is that at the same venue or is that at a different venue?
Same venue,
Same
same
venue. Okay.
spot.
So towards the end, I definitely have a few questions surrounding that as well. Now let's talk about Tough Mudder Infinity that is taking place exactly a week from now. Now you will be competing as a team for 8 hours. But what I wanted to ask is first is, how did you find out about this event? Who actually broke the news to you?
Leon
Okay.
Kofod. He was invited out to the event, and he wanted to do a team. So
Okay.
he obviously had some people in mind, and he reached out to me. He knew, like, I'm a good athlete, plus we have a great relationship. We're good friends, and thought we could gel together. And obviously, if I'm going to fly halfway around the world, we want to win, right? So he just put together a team of great friends and great athletes, and that's kind of what we got going on. But I heard directly from him. He put this team together. This is Team Leon, basically.
Excellent. And am I right in saying that you have partnered with him and you guys actually smashed the OCRW1 championship as well, right, in the past?
Yes, they took the country requirement off of the team race at
Okay.
OCRWC. So we were able to team up the last year that I was there, which was 2022.
With Rylan, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct.
And how do you guys plan the training session? I mean, do you guys do it at Zoom or is there any possibility that you might meet up, let's say, a few days before the event? Or how does the training schedule and planning of these things work?
So we're in a group chat,
Okay.
and we've had a couple calls where we just discuss with each other on strategy and what we know about the event. And Nikolai, he has a degree in sports science, so he shares with us a little bit of his knowledge of training for and preparing for heat, electrolyte consumption, that sort of thing. I'm sharing a little bit of my experience as far as like what workouts I'm doing and what I'm doing to prepare for this event specifically. Like, for example, that 3x10K that I talked about with scheduled rest. So, and preparing food in between and making sure that you're fueling for each round and taking it all seriously. Because if you get behind in a longer race like this on your nutrition, it's going to catch up to you and you're going to crumble in the end. So you have to take it seriously from the very first minute of the race. So we've been sharing information and making sure that we're all as prepared as we possibly can be. And we gel really well together. So I'm not too worried about once the race starts, like anything happening or any miscommunications being there. Like, we're all very capable and we're all understanding and we communicate well. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to do really well. But yeah, we've been sharing lots of information and things that I'm good at, things that they're good at, and just kind of blending all that together to make sure the team is as strong as we can get it.
And I think Leon recently, he just did a rope climb, right? 20 meters on live television.
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely did that. And what I wanted to ask is, at the level that you are competing in, BJ, how do you identify when is your peak performance? And what is it that you're doing to make sure that on the race day, you are at your optimal and at the peak performance?
I'm not trying to peak for this race, honestly. This is, if I was competing as an individual, I would say yes, you're going to need to peak for this. But as a team and having the scheduled rests in between, I think it's mostly a question of volume and planning. So if my volume is strong enough for this event, I don't need to be particularly fast. I just need to be strong. I need to be capable of handling hours of work. So that's been my main goal, being able to handle doing hour after hour after hour of work. And that really meshes with early season training building, right? When you're doing off season work, preseason work, it's a lot of aerobic volume, and you're basically building a nice big base to build a real high peak in the season. So this really lines up as far as how it's scheduled with the year and the preparation I would already be doing. It's just very aerobically focused, and it's working well. So I've just done a little bit of specific work to make sure the running was dialed in. I've been doing a little bit of like shoulder and upper body work over a long period of time. So take an 8-hour set schedule and hop on the pull-up bar every 20 to 30 minutes throughout that entire time, just to make sure the shoulders can hold up for a long time, right? So stuff like that, little particulars, just to make sure that I'm ready for it and I'm prepared, but I'm not necessarily trying to peak fitness right now. Like, my focus is in the fall. There's a lot of championships on the menu this year, and I want to win all of them. And I mean all of them. So
no, yeah. I mean, looking at how you've been competing, that's the reason I say it's Veejay. I win every race I compete in, Jones. So, definitely a statement to that. Now, I did have an interview with Ryan Atkins yesterday, and few years ago, rather, he did mention something about OTS, that is overtraining syndrome. Is that something that you've experienced in the past? I'm pretty much sure every athlete has experienced the fact that you always want to overtrain. Is that something that you experience, or is that?
I'm a little different than other athletes in this space. I have been historically a lower volume athlete. Almost every athlete that I compete against is running many more miles than I am. But I don't train to train. I train to race. So if I have a race on the schedule, I am training for that. A lot of athletes become infatuated with training and just building fitness and what that's like and putting in hours and hours every day. I am obsessed with winning. That's what I'm training to do. So if I'm training for a 10K, I'm going to get ready for a 10K. If it's 10K in the mountains, I'm going to get good at climbing and descending and the timeline that takes, because it's going to take us. I'll figure it out. I'll know I'm going to be racing for 50 to 55 minutes. I need to be dominant over that distance and that amount of time. So I will train for that. I'm not going to do volume past training like for a marathon in the mountains. I'm going to train for this. And I've gotten a lot of flack for that in the past, because that also limits my schedule. That's where you haven't seen me show up for any and every race that happens. I pick and choose what I can train for and what I feel that I can compete in, because when I want to step on a start line, I want to put my best foot forward and I want to win. So I don't mess around with my preparation process. And I want to win the races that I show up for.
You know what you said, Vijay, is absolutely inspirational. And what I'm going to do is, my niece is 16 years old. I'm definitely going to make her listen to this part maybe 2 or 3 times, because, other athletes can definitely benefit by this particular part that you mentioned as well. Now, on your Instagram story, you mentioned about preparation for Tough Mudder, and you mentioned about shoes. Are there any other gear or equipments that you're planning to have different to, let's say, what you have for Spartan race?
Yeah, a little bit. Running it kind of depends on the terrain. I don't know what the terrain is going to be like at the venue, so I'm going to have to bring a lot of options and just choose when I get there. Because, for example, Spartan Race World Championships in Abu Dhabi, that was extremely sandy, right? And you're going over dunes, and you had to really be prepared for that. I don't know what it's going to look like in AlUla, so it kind of depends. Like, I'm bringing a couple options. I'm going to bring a full gator option in case it is very sandy. And I'm bringing a more minimal option with a little bit of sand protection as an alternative. But fortunately, I'm not going for 8 hours straight. So if something does go wrong, I have time in between my laps to adjust and handle it. But like, my main focus is nutrition and making sure that I have enough fluid and I can bring everything with me. I have my naked band that I can carry way too much stuff in if I need. So I'm going to be very prepared in that sense. I also am planning on bringing, tape in case I rip my hand along the way and on an obstacle. I don't know what Tough Mudder obstacles are like either. So everything is very new to me. So I'm going to be prepared for anything. I'm going to bring everything I could possibly need and just make sure that I'm dialed in. But right now I'm looking at 2 different shoe options to bring to the race.
And regarding the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, are there any cultural experiences or sightseeing that you're looking forward to during your trip?
I have no idea, actually. I've never been to Saudi Arabia. I'm not all that educated in that part of the world. So I'm really excited to learn. I'm kind of going in with no real expectations, but ready to participate in anything that I can. So yeah, I'm gonna be traveling light. So if any opportunities arise, I'll be ready to go. But shortly after the race, I am gonna have to fly to Dubai for Gov Games later that week.
Oh, so you're going to be there at the Gov Games? That's wicked.
Yes. Yes,
This
I
will
will
be
be
your
there.
second year, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. We have Team Colorado coming back out, so that'll be really fun.
And if I'm not mistaken, this time the location is different as well, which is quite nearby from where I live, actually. Maybe just 20 minutes drive from where I live. If I'm not mistaken, they've changed the location for the Gov Games this time.
Really?
So it is probably an even better location, in all honesty. So, that's
wonderful.
Great to know.
I know nothing about it, but I just got an email that is very exciting for our team specifically, that there is a Climb the Burj Khalifa challenge for the Gov Games teams, to where like all of our team members get together, we tie ourselves together, we're gonna have to climb 160 floors. And I think there's bonus points for being the fastest team. I feel confident that our team is going to be the fittest team there, and we're going to climb those steps really quick. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this year. I heard obstacles are going to be a little more intense this time. The Birds Challenge is really, really cool. So we had such a good time last time. It was heartbreaking when we didn't make the finals, and we took that really hard because we were all counting on each other and we all wanted to perform for each other. So we were all, I mean, especially me, I made one mistake in the day that really could have made a difference for the team. And that was tough to kind of deal with afterwards. But overall, it was such a fun kind of team building experience. And we kind of cherished it. And I really look forward to going back again, and just kind of having the same adventure. But this time, I think we're a little more prepared. And I think we have a much better shot at making the finals and hopefully winning.
And last year, when you guys were competing, just 2 days prior to that, I did have Yancy Kalpasvet on my podcast. And I did ask him, if he's following the Gov Games. And he said, yeah, he's definitely looking forward for Team Colorado. And I think Chris Ruglowski was also there in the team, right?
Yes, she was on our team last year. She was fantastic.
Yeah, she's an absolute beast as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Vijay, I have 3 questions from the event organizers regarding the Tough Mudder Arabia event. And this is about the team by Cap Sports. And the first question, which is directed to you, is how do you, Veejay Jones, feel about the prize money that is announced at Tough Mudder Arabia Infinity in AlUla?
It's incredible. We've never seen money like this put on the line for individual or team events. And I'm ecstatic that they're giving attention to a team event, because athletes have always really enjoyed team races and they're really exciting. And if you pull team races off right, you can really engage an audience and get people behind it. Because when there's multiple people on a team, you're going to see more risks get taken. You're going to see faster and harder performances, just because you want to put out for your team. You have people counting on you, and it's easier to suffer in a group than it is by yourself. So I'm really glad they're putting this together. I'm really excited to come to a place that I've never been. So the prize money is amazing, and hopefully the athletes that perform well and are able to earn their way into the podium and into the prize pool get paid timely.
Yeah, that is quite important, isn't it? Rather than having a delay of, let's say, 6 months, 8 months, or maybe even a couple of years. So timely payment is definitely critical. The second question, what they want me to ask you is, would you support a series in the Middle East with multiple high-price sport events in the near future?
Of course. I love this sport. I love OCR. I want to see it grow. And if they can help provide a platform for the sport to grow and to get more eyeballs on it, I'm 100% about it. I would definitely be all in for that, to help out in any way that I can, whether it's as an athlete or otherwise. I think that would be incredible. OCR is fascinating, and if it's done well,
yeah,
it it can engage a lot of the world. So yeah, I would be ecstatic to hear about something like that.
And the final question what they have is, what would you like to see the organizers focus on to uplift, let's say, obstacle course race regionally and internationally?
It's interesting. Is this from Tough Mudder specifically, or
Tough Mudder Arabia?
Okay.
As a whole, including other obstacle course race as well, be it Spartan race or Savage race or anything else.
Yeah, I would love to see a series. I would like to see a variety. I think the ultra distance is very exciting, but in its own way, because it is a little exclusive to a certain margin of the population, to where it's kind of hard for people to relate, because not many people are experienced in doing 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours of something like that. But it does provide an opportunity to show something that is so out of this world and so incredible. I don't know if you've seen the obstacle racing media documentary.
I spoke to Matt Davis a few weeks. Yeah.
Perfect. That documentary that they did was incredible. And you could only really do something like that in something like World's Toughest Mudder or a Tough Mudder Infinity. So that was really cool. And I think that's a great opportunity. But my dream for OCR is to see something a little more spectator friendly and something a little more consumer based, something shorter, something high intensity with multiple rounds that can really bring in sponsors, bring in media. I have a whole event concept that I was working on for a couple years that is a short course format with individuals and teams and spectators and TV. Like, I had a whole thing ready to roll. And that's something that I feel is going to be really successful, and I would like to pursue on my own one day when I have the resources to do something like that. But anything that is consumable and watchable, I think that is the number one thing that I would like to see around this sport, because this sport would grow massive if people could just see it.
Yeah.
So as long as, with putting up a lot of this prize money and getting the world's best athletes to arrive, if you can tell those stories, if you can, create storylines, develop characters in the sport, get people on board, and then spread it to the masses and get people to buy into what OCR is, 100%. That's what needs to happen for this sport to take over the world. And I believe it can. It's just, it's totally missing possible. that one media aspect, just that one thing.
And one thing which I think of is, probably we need something like a Conor McGregor moment in the obstacle course race. I mean, everyone is really polite and nice. I'm pretty much sure you know about Conor McGregor. He's the king of trash talk. So maybe if someone, comes up with the trash talk, builds a lot of excitement. And when you talk about the number of views, it definitely gets a lot of eyeballs rolling into the sport. So, let's see if you have something similar to that. Now, regarding Tough Mudder Infinity, I want to ask you a question regarding your prediction for your team. How many loops do you think you guys would smash?
We don't know. It really depends on the terrain. Again, if we're able to run well, I think we can move really, really quickly. Because we're not doing back-to-back laps where you actually can trade off. So if it's really sandy, if it's really slow, I was thinking we're somewhere between the 8 to 9 lap range. If we can actually get rolling, I'm looking at 4. I think we can get over 10 if we can start running well. But it's really it's all terrain based, because we're going to move well through obstacles. Our team is strong and capable, and we're going to work together as a team really well. On any teamwork obstacles, I feel like we're going to get those dialed in the first lap or two, and we're going to be really efficient. And I would look for us probably not to lead at the start. Right? There's going to be teams that are going to get excited and want to run really quick, and you go for it. I'll see you in the back half, and we're going to win. So
the last 2 hours are going to be really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's absolutely phenomenal. Now, Veejay Jones, let's talk about Spartan races in Middle East. Now, in 2021, you won there, right? That is at the Liva World Championship, the year before the AlUla one. Did you get any feedback from fellow athletes regarding what the venue was or what are the do's and don'ts?
I had just never been. I never left my continent. I had only been like south to Mexico. And I was really training for specifically the U.S. National Series, and I got really good at that. And those were mostly like an hour or less races. And then the World Championships was shortly after that, in the middle of a desert. Like
that was in the middle of a desert. Yeah.
Yes, it was in the middle of a desert.
Yeah.
And it was way out there, and it was just, I knew I wasn't going to be able to perform well, and it just kind of was what it was. So I didn't feel the need to show up there, knowing that I was going to be fighting for a top 10 placement. Long sandy dune climbs.
Yeah.
That was going to be a really long race too, like, because you just can't move quickly. So a half marathon up dunes, I was not prepared for that. So I'm kind of glad I didn't go, because it looked really, really tough.
And it was much brutal than it looks as well, to be honest. Yeah.
So I did not miss out on anything. The views looked gorgeous. Other than that, it looked painful. So the next year, AlUla, that was the 10K World Championship year. And earlier in the year when they announced that, I was like, dude, they just gave me the World Championship. Stoked. And that, like, I was really sick at that time. I was barely training. I had a fever on the flight over. Like, I developed a fever during our first layover, and like my whole flight into Abu Dhabi, I was not good. I was not having a good time. And I was sick the day of the race, and I just tried to put my best foot forward because I had already booked the flights. I was already committed. So I came out and I had the best time that I could, but it was not a great time that I had, but it was, I enjoyed the venue. I enjoyed the experience. It was great. It's just like the 6 months leading into that were just riddled with health issues, and I just could not overcome it no matter how hard I tried. So a little bit of a low point there.
But in 2022, you guys still managed to smash the team championship, right? That was the following day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we were able to do that. Like, I can fake it for a kilometer, and I'm just good at that sort of thing, like quick obstacle movements. That was perfect, which was basically the same thing that we did for 2023, just a few times more. But yeah, I was in a really bad spot
in 2022.
In 22. Yeah, it was not pretty.
Now in 2023, you definitely smashed it. But Vijay, I was right at the sandbag and near the A-frame. So can you tell our listeners what was going on in your mind specifically during that time? And everyone was like, who is going to win?
That was just a mistake on my part. I had to make a call. Like, things happen in racing, and you do your best with the situations that you have. So through the entire race, I was doing really well. I was executing exactly as I needed to. I was running well. I was stacking the sandbags. I was crushing the rig. Like, it was my race, and I felt great. And I kind of got comfortable in the third lap, and I didn't feel like I needed to open up any more of a lead. I just needed to be ready if someone wanted to challenge. And when I got to the double sandbag, the entire day, through round 1, 2, and the first 2 laps of the final, I had stacked bags perfectly and ran well. And I tossed those bags up on my shoulder, and 10 steps in, they were trying to jump off me. One of the bags was halfway down my back and one was on my shoulder. And I was like, I had 2 options. I can either drop them and try to pick them back up again, or I can hope that I can keep it on my back and just move slower. And I chose the latter. I kept it on and I leaned really far forward. And if you watch it, I start the sandbag carry upright. And by the end, I am fully bent over just trying to keep it on my back. And in hindsight, I probably should have just put him back down and picked him up again, because if I would have had it stacked well, he would have never caught me. But I made the decision and I had to stick with it. And he ran me down, and I'm sure he felt real confident after he had caught me. But I was ready. I was ready to fight after that, because I had just I had it in my hands, and I knew I was the best person through that gauntlet. Like, no one was going to beat me through the rig and laser pistol area. Like, that was my bread and butter. So I knew I was still going to win it. It was just like, I had an opportunity to have a dominant performance, and just one little mistake just kind of I knew like I was going to hear so much about it. But it's all good. A win is a win. And I still felt confident. I just knew I probably made the wrong decision. But when you're halfway through the carry, like I had made my bed. Now I get to lie in it. So he caught me, and yeah.
But, as you said, a win is a win. So, congratulations on that. Now, what is the general feedback, you have regarding the event at El Wadba? Because I believe there might be 2 more such events at that same venue.
Personally, I really like that venue. It's really cool. It's not far from the cities. It's easy to stay places. Plus, that festival is always there, and that's a really cool place to visit. We had a good time. I went for the first time this past year, and we ended up leaving with way more stuff. They're really good salesmen in there, and they sold us a lot of things. But yeah, I think it's a great venue. Like, having that area in there with all the cushions where you can get comfortable and hang out. And as the night comes, all the lights come up. It's a blast. It's probably my favorite festival area experience that I've had. Usually Spartan race festivals, they're uncomfortable. There's nowhere to relax. There's nowhere to sit. There's limited drink and food options. This covers all those bases. So even as a spectator, it's great to visit. Like, you can show up, you can have a good time, you can check out a couple of vendors, get some food. So I like it. So yeah, I think it would be cool to go back there. I'm open to it. But yeah, I've had a great time at that venue. I don't know if I would have liked the first year venue way out in the middle of the desert, but I do like the Al Wathba venue for sure.
And what are your expectations regarding this year's event? I think the World Championship will be for the Beast, isn't it, this year?
Yeah, so there's a short course World Championship and a Beast World Championship. I'm not really sure why they went away from the 3K. Like, we had just established that this was the option. This was the good, everyone was a little hesitant at first, but by the end, I think everyone was like, this is really cool. We understand it now. We're ready for year 2. And then they just decided, no, we're going to give up on that. We're going to move to something else. I think there was one person responsible for that. I think he's gone now. So we'll leave that for another day's chat. But yeah, I think they should have stuck with the 3K. I would have liked to see that develop, because that was probably the thing that had the best chance of becoming a spectator sport and getting network contracts to be televised. Like, that was really exciting. We saw different winners all the time. We saw so many lead changes, drama in between the rounds. Like, it was exciting. So it's a little disappointing, but I like the opportunity to come out and win a Beast World Championship, because that's been kind of the thing that people say that I can't accomplish. I'm not good at the long distance. I can't handle it, that sort of thing. But I'm going to come out there and I'm going to win it. And it's going to feel really good. Yeah.
Now, am I right in saying that, you did beat Ryan Atkins in Beast in Lake Tahoe, right?
Not Lake Tahoe. No, I was always really young in Tahoe. Like, my first year in Tahoe, I was 17. I was a teenager for most of my Tahoe years. So not my best performances there. As I got older, I figured out the longer distances and how to train and evolve into that. And it worked well. So I was actually able to, I won my first Beast in Mexico in 2022. So that was a longer race, and I was able to win that. That was at elevation too. So I feel much better about the longer events, and I know how to prepare for them now. So looking at the season, the Pan American Championships, there's a 3K and a beast in Seattle. I'm planning on, winning both of those. I want the 15K at OCRWC and the 3K. My big goal this year is trifecta champs. So I'm planning on going to Greece. Flights are already booked. Like I'm ready. We're gonna take that one down. I have a little my motto for this year in my gym on my mirror. It says, "Faster than Basilico, stronger than Kent."
Oh, that's absolutely wicked, yeah.
Yeah.
So UFC or mixed martial arts by any chance, Veejay?
I do not, but I would love to. I feel like that'd be really fun.
See, the reason why I brought this thing up is because on Saturday, there is a massive fight coming up, and there's a guy called Ilya Tapira. He has changed his Instagram profile that he's already a champion. So he just has had 14 fights, but he's changed it to 15-0. And to be honest, the guy whom he's competing with is probably the best athlete of all time. So there is a lot of drama, there's a lot of trash talk going on, and it just might be one of the biggest fights probably in the history of UFC as well. And that goes back to the mentality that, you just mentioned regarding having the signs up in the gym. So what I'll do is, after the podcast, I'll definitely send you a screenshot of what his mentality is. Now, BJ, something which you did mention earlier on, that you are still young, but you're already the OG of the game. Now, you clearly mentioned that you prefer short distances, but what advice would you like to give to some athletes who talk about longer distances and they want longer distances? What advice do you have for them?
Understand what you're training for. It's not just distance, it's time. And the comprehension of time has been a big thing for me, because when if you're training for a 10K, if we're looking at a 10K race, take example, the race we had in San Luis Obispo in California, almost dead flat the entire way. We're running, mid 5-minute mile pace the whole time, hitting obstacles fast. We finished that event in the low 40-minute range. Right? Like my fastest super I ever did, I think, was 39 minutes. Now take a race that happened in Big Bear or Utah. Same distance. Now we're pushing up into the 50-hour range, 60 minutes, right? There's 20 minutes of difference across the same distance. So not only are you training for terrain changes between events, you're having to deal with time changes. And the difference between 40 and 60 minutes is immense, right? And this is still a short distance race. So let's talk about a beast, right? If we're running a beast in San Luis Obispo and we're getting rolling hills, hard packed terrain, you're going to be able to cover that ground a lot better than power hiking up the side of a mountain and having to descend through really technical areas. Or if you're running in the middle of a desert and having to contend with dunes. Right. Yeah. So understanding your time frame is huge. So if you were planning on running for 2 hours and 20 minutes and you're out there for 2:45, this is 25 minutes of unplanned territory. So keep that in mind when you're going into adding volume for your races. I always recommend training time-based for your long runs. I don't like mileage basis, because if your terrain changes, say you're traveling or say it starts raining really hard and your trails get all muddy, right? You're not going to be able to gut out onto those trails. So you're going to run road instead. That might cut 20 minutes off your run that you really needed. So time-based workouts are really huge, and nailing your nutrition. Like, you got to take your nutrition seriously and practice with these different things in your training. Like, one of my big things in preparing for AlUla, I'm taking every day the electrolytes that I'm going to be taking mid-race, even before my easy runs, before my intensity sessions, before my long runs, and I'm taking nutrition during almost every interval workout. So if I'm going out and doing threshold, if I'm doing track workout, I'm taking nutrition. I don't need it to get through that workout, but I want my body to be used to what I'm going to take. You have to accustom yourself to that and know what works, because if you just surprise yourself with a gel on race day,
yeah,
oh my gosh, it's
a
terrible.
lot of things could go wrong, right?
Absolutely. I did that one time. My only half marathon I ever ran, they handed me a Cliff Goo in the middle of the race, and I was like, oh, I'll try this. Why not? And I took this Cliff Gel in the middle, and I felt so bad. It was about 3 miles of just brutal stomach pain, and it was terrible. So save yourself some problems. As much as you're running mileage, train your stomach to be able to take what you need to on race day, and you'll be better off for it.
That is definitely solid advice. Now, Veejay Jones, you were also at the Spartan Games. What is the good, bad, and the ugly experience that you've seen over there?
Spartan Games. That was a really fun experience. It was a little underwhelming, but overall I had a good time. Like anytime you can get a bunch of athletes together and they have to spend time together, we're going to have a good time. Most of the people in this sport are really cool and easy to talk to. We're all friends. It's nice. So that was no different. We got to meet a lot of new people, do a bunch of different stuff over different days. And some people were taking that really serious. I was just excited to have a good time. Like the day before I did Spartan Games, I just won the U.S. National Series. I was on top of the world. So I didn't care one bit about Spartan Games. I just wanted to have a good time. And I did. So I really liked that. The first year of Spartan Games is what we all signed up for. We all saw that at Joe's farm. It was incredible. All those different tests, what did they call that? The Spartan cross course that they had. It looked so good, and like lifting heavy rocks and riding mountain bikes, all this stuff. It was really cool. And we didn't quite have that when we did it in Big Bear. And it was a little bit of a gnarly experience. Like our first day, it started to snow. And they were like, we're going to do a swimming test. And we're like,
that was horrid. Yeah.
You want me to swim while it's snowing? And they're like,
and the conditions weren't great at all.
Oh my gosh, it was brutal. And we had to do 2 by 25 meter underwater swim. So we had to, we're in murky lake water and we have to go under. We can't see where we're going. All we have is this little rope. And we just have to follow the rope under, and it's buried in mud. So you're like pulling it up out of the mud, just hoping you're going to get to the end, and it's freezing cold. Oh, what a crazy experience. And then right after that, they're like, all right, good job. We're going to do our 600-meter time trial. I'm like, fantastic. I'm just going to spend more time in this frozen lake while it's snowing on me. So, yeah, overall, I look back on it. I was very fond of it. It was really exciting. We had a good time. Raced mountain bikes up and down the mountain and did a lot of funky stuff, wrestled in the sand. Never done that before. So great experience on my part. I don't know if people enjoyed season 2 as much as season 1, but it was a blast.
And if the UAE or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia were to replicate something similar to that, would you be up for it?
100%. Invite your boy out there. I love that sort of stuff. And you need some people with character out there. You need some color, endurance athletes, maybe not endurance athletes, maybe just some like elite OCR athletes. I don't know why, but a lot of them come out so boring. And I don't understand, like they do so many fascinating and really cool things. Like your lifestyle is incredible. Why are you so bland? Like bring some energy, man. Be exciting. So yes, tag me in season 1 of, Spartan Dubai Games or whatever it is, sign me up. I would love that. That'd be so much fun. I enjoy those experiences, and getting a bunch of athletes together. It's just a blast.
Definitely. And you just mentioned, about athletes doing something different, getting a bit of drama, so to speak. Now, you posted about Last Dance, and you called out some of the GOATs and encouraging them, to go ahead and participate. I personally think it's an absolutely phenomenal idea. But what has the response been with, the people that you've called out at the event?
It's been pretty good. Everyone seemed to be on board. Atkins he wanted to make a stupid little comment, but that's just Atkins. He likes to poo-poo on anything anyone else has going on. So whatever. But other than that, the response was good. The main consensus that I got was they didn't want to go through the qualification system. And the current qualification system is a little difficult. Like, if someone hasn't raced in a few years, say like Ryan Kent, he hasn't done a Spartan race in a few years, or Ryan
Hobie
Woods,
Call as well?
Hobie Call, Cody Moat, great athletes, legends of the sport. They would have to go in and sign up for a competitive wave at a local event, run fast enough to earn their pro card, and then perform well enough in that to move on to a U.S. National Series race, finish a U.S. National Series race, and then earn the right to qualify into Pan American Championships. So I was reaching out to Spartan and really working hard on getting qualification exemptions for specific athletes. Like, I wanted to reach out to a bunch of athletes, get them on board, and then come with a list of names and say, this is these are their names, this is their merit, this is why they deserve to be in this event, and get them in straight away. Which I think is like a one-off invitational kind of basis is fine. And I don't think anyone will have a problem with that because these people are going to belong there. And I was trying to chat with Chris Maltby about it, who I don't think is a Spartan race anymore, but he was in charge of the whole qualification system, and I could not get a hold of him. So I reached out to Joe DeSena directly, and he's really on board with it. So I think we're going to get exemptions for athletes now. And I feel really good about putting this together, because I don't know what Spartan race holds in the future. I believe that this is going to continue, and we're going to have a renaissance of OCR in the United States, and it's going to come back to what it was in its glory days. And I want to take a position in Spartan where I can help it grow. And I'm mostly around media. I'm mostly a personality, and I don't feel like I can help build the stories of the athletes around me while competing against them. I just don't. Like, if I'm racing in it, if I'm competing in this race, I can't ask people how they're doing about and what their preparation was like and all this sort of thing. Like, I don't want to finish the race and first turn around and then interview and be like, hey man, how'd that feel? How was it out there for you? So I can see myself after this year stepping away from OCR and moving more into the hybrid space, the Hyrox Decafit kind of scene, and becoming more of kind of a character and a media personality in the OCR realm. And that's kind of like my dream. And I feel like I can help the sport grow a little more from that perspective, or from that side, and do a little more storytelling, which I think could be really cool. So that's kind of why I want to have one big reunion of everybody in Seattle. Because I don't know what next year holds for me. I don't know if I'll still be doing this or not. So this might be our last chance to have a classic Spartan venue. Maybe they go back to the 3K. Maybe this is the new norm. But Seattle is classic Spartan. Been there a lot of years. Lots of U.S. National Series races, lots of battles. It was on television. Like, people know this spot, and it's local to the city. It's easy to get to. I think it's a perfect opportunity to just have a lot of incredible athletes all show up at one time as kind of a celebration of everything that Spartan has been.
And what would the race format be for that video? Would that be like a super or beast? Or
it would be a beast. It would be a beast distance. So they do have a 3K on the Friday before, but I think the beast is more of a classic Spartan style of event, and I'd like to see everybody come out for that. So I'm going to be sending out a lot of messages and trying to gather the troops for this one. I'm really excited about it. I think people are on board. Like, I'm getting a lot of good responses from the people I have talked to, and I'd like to see some big names come out of retirement for just one more event, one last dance, as they say.
I'm contemplating, really cool, if I should share my thought or not, because I think you should take the Conor McGregor route and, do a bit of trash talk and tell them that, you got to smash everyone else. That's just going to get a lot of people engaged into the sport, isn't it?
I think I can talk some trash to the people that are in the sport. Absolutely. And I'm fine with that. I will do that 100%. And I think as we get closer to championship time, that'll start coming out, because it needs to happen. But as far as getting people to come out of retirement, I don't know if any hostility is going to encourage them to come out. So I want it to be more of a celebration. I want a lot of people there. And, but when it comes to like trifecta, I've been practicing my French so I can talk a little trash to Basilico in his own language. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to all the championships this year, but Seattle would just be kind of like my own little passion project to see everyone one more time before they disappear into retirement for good.
I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea. Now, Vijay, I want to talk about Richard Diaz. How has it been training with him? And I do think he's one of the greatest coaches, definitely in the obstacle course race community.
So I worked with Rich from, I think, 2017 through 2019. Mm-hmm. We haven't worked together since then, but he taught me a ton. Like coming into the sport, like in 2017, I was 18 years old. I didn't know a lot. I didn't know a lot about training and how to develop myself as an athlete. And he kind of took me under his wing and coached me into really good fitness. And as well as I learned a ton from him, especially when it came to running mechanics and the science of training. Like he was incredible. And I still think he is one of the best, if not the best, running mechanics coaches on the planet. Like if you want to learn how to move efficiently, he will do that for you and he will get you dialed in. There's just a little bit of difference as far as like his method for like daily training, and it works, but I think I just needed something a little different because everyone's a little different. Like there's a lot of different ways to get to the same end result, and you have to kind of figure out what works for you particularly. But I refer back to Rich all the time in lots of different ways. And he taught me a ton, and I'm stoked to know the guy. He's an incredible person. But yeah, I learned a ton from him, and he set me on a really good path in this sport as far as building foundations for becoming like an elite athlete and becoming a champion and being able to perform at the level that I do, for sure.
And Vijay, if there is one skill that you'd like to acquire from him, what would that skill be?
I'd like to see the way that people move the way that he does, the way that he can pick up on something, little nuances of the way people are moving when it comes to running, like in how they're swinging their arms and how that rotation is going to affect their foot placement and the alignment as far as like their weight and their balance. He recognizes things much quicker than I do, and he sees some things that I just don't, that I just can't, because he's got, as long as I've been alive, he's been doing this longer. So I'd love that, just because he's the best at it. Like you can have lots of cameras and sensors and all these things around you to kind of give you tips, but that dude can just feel what's going on like holistically and be able to correct you and put you in a good place. So he's the man. He's the man when it comes to that. It's incredible.
Definitely. And Vijay, you're one of the OGs of the game. You're the most feared athlete. Now, what I wanted to ask is, what is it that the UAE and the Middle East region can do in order to provide world-class athletes like yourself? Because we don't have a Veejay Jones here yet, but hopefully in the next 2 to 5 years, what is it that we can do to provide world-class athletes like you or someone else? And you've interacted with some of them over here as well.
I'd say build channels for athletes to develop. I'm not really sure what it looks like for you in that part of the world, and what it looks like as far as being an athlete in school and growing and developing as an athlete, because if you want to be a runner, there's kind of an avenue for that. Like when I got into high school, there was my high school running teams. I grew through that. I could qualify into college. I could run in college. And if you can achieve high enough there, you can move into professional sport, right? I have a question for you. What does it look like out there as far as, say, just the running realm? Like if you wanted to be a runner.
Yeah, right now there are a lot of expats in Dubai, and this has changed primarily in the, let's say, last 5 to 10 years. Like how we mentioned about Richard Diaz, there is another coach from England who's moved over here. It's called LK Running Performance. Prior to 5 to 10 years, a lot of people who are, let's say, good in track and field, they used to actually go to US, and I know a couple of my friends who have moved to Texas only to do the track and field, and then they used to come back. But at this moment, particularly in Dubai, there's no scholarship opportunities as such. But again, there are a lot of expats, but maybe there are a couple of Emiratis, that is, the citizens who are born and brought up in Middle East. And one of them will be a competitor with you who's running with Sergey's team. So, from
Sure.
them, he's actually a full-time runner. And if I'm not mistaken, he actually beat Sergey by 8 minutes. So, he's going to be really competitive as well. But as and when, people are going to keep on giving advice, I'm pretty much sure the Dubai government will definitely on board, what you have to say. And that's one of the reasons why they also have the Dubai Gov Games as well. And whatever feedback you guys give, they're definitely going to go ahead and implement it. Now, Vijay, you're on a mission to do 100 pull-ups to get 100,000 followers, right? How is that going on so far?
Not bad.
Have you touched the 18,000 yet?
I don't know. I don't know how social media works, honestly. Like, I see these guys on Instagram, they come on and they're like, I am going to walk 1 inch for every follower I have. And then suddenly they have 700,000 followers like 8 days later, and they're walking, a few miles and stuff. And I'm like, I could do something like that. Let's try this 100-pound pull-up thing. So I'm trying to do a 100-pound pull-up, which is 1 pound for every 1,000 followers. And I'm like, you're going to make my pull-ups heavier. I've always wanted to do a 100-pound pull-up. I've never actually done it. So this is a good way to kind of get there. And I thought it could be kind of impressive, and it would just like kind of engage people. So I'm just going to keep doing it every day. Instagram has not decided to help the kid out and get us some more followers because, Zuckerberg holds the keys to being able to make that possible. Like, if Instagram wanted to show my video to everybody, it would, but it doesn't like me right now, and I don't know why. And yeah, anyway, but
are you on Reddit as well? Are you on Reddit?
I can go on Reddit. I've never like posted anything there. I don't really know much about that. Why?
So if you want to shoot up, let's say from 17 to 20 or 24, I think Reddit is the place to go. You know about the whole GameStop thing, right?
Right.
So they took down the
Interesting. So I love that. That's very interesting.
So you may probably want to, at least for 1 or 2 weeks, you may just want to follow a couple of channels and then try to pitch in the idea. And I wouldn't be surprised from 17 if it goes to 50K, maybe in just a matter of few days. That is definitely a possibility. So Reddit is the place I would recommend. And other than that, I think apart from US, if you look at, certain Asian countries, there's a lot of TikTok. I mean, I personally don't like TikTok, so maybe promoting on that might probably be a good idea, I think.
TikTok is wild, man. Like I've posted a couple times, and TikTok at least makes sense to me. When you post more, if you try to engage people and people watch your videos, they show it to more people. I'm like, fantastic. That makes sense. When I post a video on Instagram, say it starts getting a lot of interaction, you're like, okay, people are watching this, watch time is good on it, show it to more people. And Instagram will be like, no, we're not going to do that because you haven't figured it out. Or I don't know. There's a lot of weird like political stuff that happens in the US. And if you like the wrong thing, your account can get flagged as like, we don't want you to grow because you think a certain way. Anyways, it's really weird.
That's a different topic altogether.
That's one we should not touch at all. But I don't know. I don't know why it's not working. Like, I felt like every time you think you're posting something really good, you're not. And then when you don't try at all, like I find some photo, I'm like, all right, let's throw that up. That does better than everything else that I put effort into. So I can't wrap my head around it. I don't understand it. I don't appreciate it. And yeah, but I'm going to keep this up. I'm bringing my weight belt to Saudi Arabia and to Dubai. We're going to keep doing weighted pull-ups while we're there. So it's like we're doing it every day. All right. Every day until we hit 100,000 followers. If it takes 3 years, I'm probably still going to do it every day, but we'll work it out.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do is, I have two podcasts. One is Blockchain DXP, where I talk about Bitcoin and crypto. I'll definitely go ahead and mention that to my followers over there. And this is the second one, which is more to do with obstacle course race. And you mentioned about politics. In probably around 2 weeks' time, I'll be interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy. So I'm definitely going to pitch in that question. There are a couple of guys who are trying to do it on Instagram. Why is Instagram blocking them and not promoting them? So I'll definitely go ahead and pitch in that idea. At least your name would come out. So, let's see if I want to do that.
Wow, that's really cool. I will, when I come out, let's hang out. I'd love to pick your brain about blockchain and all this stuff, because I know nothing. I don't understand it.
In fact, what you could also do is on your Instagram, you can just put in your Bitcoin address and people could just donate it just because you like it. And there is a website called as runningbtc.com.
Okay.
A lot of elite runners, but they are mostly ultra distance runners. So there's one commonality which I've found out between runners and Bitcoin. They are passionate about both the things. So a lot of ultra runners are passionate about Bitcoin and vice versa. So, you can always ask me any questions regarding Bitcoin. And I don't like to post it, but I got them at $30. So right now the price is $52,000 per Bitcoin. But that is, if you have any questions, you can always ask me about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies.
That's wild. Wow.
In fact, what you can do is you have your website as well, right? veejayjones.com. Is it still functional? So maybe you can accept cryptocurrencies for your payments. And maybe if there are a couple of cryptocurrency exchanges who want to go ahead and sponsor them or sponsor you, we can probably try to think of those areas as well. Now, I wanted to ask you about RPT Athletics. Is that something that you're managing it as well?
Yes, that's something that I'm just kind of throwing stuff out there a little bit, little hints. Yeah. I think that's the business that I'm really going to try to delve into later this year. That is going to be a performance apparel company that I'm specifically trying to target hybrid fitness and OCR with. I've had struggles finding gear that works for my needs and performs well in these different realms. So I've had a lot of experience. I've worked with lots of different things. I've tested lots of different things. And currently I'm in my clothing making phase where I'm learning myself how to create patterns, how to, like, I got a sewing machine now. I've been sewing stuff together. I'm learning the whole ins and outs of creating clothing. And my goal is to start making one-off pieces for athletes, for some of the top athletes, and pretty much anybody really, kind of to spec what people want to see. And once I kind of get an idea of what the most popular features are and products in the space, then I'm going to start coming out with like more of a complete line and more of a mass production. But I want to make sure everything is perfect before I bring it to market. Like I've ordered a bunch of samples from different manufacturers, like in the US and in China, and like feeling different things out. And yeah, I'm kind of experimenting with some stuff. Like I currently have a pair of compression shorts that we put a lot of work into that are really, really cool.
Will you be trying that Tough Mud AlUla by any chance? So
I will, actually. I think I'll be bringing a pair with me, and a couple shirts and things like that. But yeah, like I'm looking to make a performance apparel brand, like for athletes, designed by me. And that's kind of the dream there. You probably won't see anything really big coming out of that for a few months, but like right now it's really in the research and development phase. We're going to kind of figure out what we want to bring to market to start. And then once everything drops, like it should be really, really quality gear. I don't want to half-ass it. I want to make sure it's nice. I want to make sure it works. And I want to make sure that when people pick up the clothing, when they unwrap it for the first time, like you can tell right away that this is the best gear you've ever had. So that's my passion project right now. I'm really looking forward to it. And I feel like we're going to be able to do great things with that.
And on the Instagram, there are a couple of quotes as well. Is that your original quotes, or do you pick it out from ChatGPT, or
on those RPT quotes?
Yeah.
A couple are original and a couple are some that I've heard. and things that kind of stick with me, and things that kind of work with the branding of repeat. Like the mantra of repeat is one isn't enough. And looking at athletes in this space, it's everything we do is on repeat. We're doing it day in, day out. And that kind of became like a little bit of a mentality to me. Is I didn't finish a workout and go like, oh yeah, it's done. It's like, all right, I'm ready for the next one. Like we're going to do this again, and we're going to keep coming back day in and day out. And it's just like doing the things that you don't necessarily like to do on repeat to get the things that you want was kind of the idea behind the name. And some of the quotes just kind of like came along with what kind of fits the branding, and it was just kind of interesting to me. So that's the kind of stuff you're going to see for a little bit until I can start sharing some of the journey of like actually producing the clothing and what it's going to look like and what we're going to have. And I'll probably be doing like some polls and getting other people to kind of chime in as far as what has worked for everybody and what people like and what they don't like, to make sure that when this comes out, it's perfect. Because
I'm pretty much sure it's going to be absolutely smashing. Now, Veejay, you have a weekly show with Matt Davis, the OG of podcasting and obstacle course race as well. So what is it that listeners can expect from that session?
So it's not weekly. It's kind of as we feel. When there's things to talk about, we will discuss it. That was kind of like what we mentioned that in one of the podcasts. It's called, I think we're calling it like MVP, Matt and Veejay podcast.
MVP.
It's fun. Like we gel together really well. And we can just carry a chat about nothing. But then when there are subjects to be discussed, we'll talk about it. And it's mostly fun. We get off topic. It's wild. There's some banter. And it's just like colorful commentary. And then you'll get some good tidbits of information in there as well. But I mean, if you're bored on your run and you got to get 60 minutes in, you got to get 90 minutes in, throw on the podcast and let the mind wander. It'll definitely get you through.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is, in the show notes, I'll definitely go ahead and mention, the series that you do. I'll go ahead and mention RPD Athletics and your Instagram handles and quite a lot of other things as well. Now, we are towards the end of the podcast, Veejay. I have two fun bit questions, and I have a surprise question as well. Now, the first question is regarding Be a Mile. If you were to do a Be a Mile, who would your running mate be?
Oof, that's tough. I'd probably need someone that can drink my beers for me, because I can't handle that. But someone lives right near me. I think he's done like a low 6-minute beer mile, which is pretty impressive. And that's Jack Bauer. Jack Bauer lives about 10 minutes from me, and I feel like we could work and we could do pretty well. But I don't really drink alcohol because it just tastes bad to me. I'm not opposed to alcohol. It's just I can't get past the taste, man. So beer, I've never had a beer that was good, and I'm probably gonna get some flack for that, but it's okay. But yeah, I'd probably tag in my buddy Jack, and we'd put in some work.
And the second one, what I wanted to ask is your favorite genre of music.
Oh man, that's tough. I kind of bounce around a lot. I'd say like late 90s, early 2000s rock or alternative. I've been really big into that the last little bit. Been listening to a lot of like Third Eye Blind and Goo Goo Dolls and Green Day and stuff like that lately. I don't know why, but that's just what 2024 has brought me, and that's where I'm at. So that's what I'm listening to right now.
That's great. Now, Veejay, ChatGPT and artificial intelligence has definitely kicked the world by storm. Now, what I'm going to be reading out next is a question by ChatGPT. So what I did, I took some of the transcripts from your podcast. I put a couple of, your Instagram stories, a couple of the articles. So this question is not by me. It is by the, let's say, so-called higher mind. So let's see what the answer to that is. And I'm going to be reading it out word for word. So the question is, Veejay Jones, your journey in obstacle course race reads like a gripping saga of triumph and resilience. Amidst the relentless pursuits of podiums and personal best, have you ever encountered a moment of doubt or setbacks that made you question your path? If so, how did you overcome it? That is a deep question.
That is a deep question right there. That's a good one. Good one, Chat GPT. I need to use AI more. Yes, absolutely. Like, I'm not David Goggins. I'm not immune to doubt and difficulty on the daily basis. And the thing is, doubt happens. You just have to learn how to deal with it and remind yourself of your mission and what you're trying to accomplish. And realistically, when it comes to sport and competing, you have to be selfish, because if you're competing as an athlete and you want to win and you want to be the best at what you're doing, you have to put a lot into yourself. And if you look at that from a standpoint of the greater good, or providing for your friends and family and that sort of stuff, it a lot of times is not that, right? So you have to accept that this is a selfish mission and you're going to prioritize yourself over a lot of other things. And it's not a bad thing to be selfish. You don't have to exclude everyone else or do anything negative towards anyone else, but it is something to where you're going to have to prioritize yourself. And that can put you in a weird headspace sometimes, especially when things start going wrong. When you're not able to perform athletically, when you have a bad race, you're like, I put so much time into this, and I took time away from others to focus on me and making sure that this is happening. And I traveled halfway around the world to compete here, and I didn't accomplish my goal. That can be really hard, and that can put you in a dark place. So understanding your reasons and being honest with yourself as to why you're doing it is really, really big. And I think people just need to accept the fact that athletics can be really selfish, and bettering yourself is not something to shy away from in any realm. So that's kind of like me reminding myself of my mission and what I'm trying to accomplish, and being okay with that is usually enough, and it's strong enough to overcome some of the doubts on the dark days.
I think what you just said is, complete championship mentality thought process, and very, very beautifully said, So thank you so very much. And how can listeners get in touch with you, Veejay? What is the best mode to get in contact with you?
Instagram's good. That's probably the social media that I'm active on the most. So if you want to reach out, hit me up there. I think my email's even linked through that too. If you want to send an email, I'm probably on WhatsApp. You can hit me up there. I'm an open book. I like chatting with people. So when you reach out, odds are I'm going to respond to some degree. But also, as much as I like talking to people, I am terrible about remembering to talk to people. So if you send a message and I don't respond, eventually I will. But it might be a little while, just because I am an airhead, and it happens. ADHD runs high over here, so I'm distracted by whatever the next thing is. So hit me up on Instagram. I'll give you training advice. I'll give you inspirational quotes. I'll give you recipes for baking, whatever you need.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Veejay, for doing this. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm pretty much sure listeners, definitely eager, particularly from the Middle East. You're kind of like a mini celebrity, So far as obstacle course race is concerned, everyone in the obstacle course race definitely knows who you are. So thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it, Veejay.
I appreciate it, man. I've enjoyed every trip out there, and the community out there is incredible. So I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
See you in AlUla. Thank you so much, Veejay.